Spain. Hi, everybody. I'm Anne Murado, Director of Brand Content Strategy at Modern Salon, and I am so happy to be continuing a conversation I started in Uber with Angel del Solare. And we met at the PBA Executive Summit. We've met over the years, Angel, but yes, we got to really dive into some of the things that you're doing that are very unique. But before we do, please just give everybody a quick introduction to you and your beauty background, which is extensive.
Okay, thank you very much, Anne, for the opportunity. I'm glad that I got to meet with you and spend that time. And you basically took me back to the airport from the meeting in Arizona. So I really appreciate that. It was a great conversation with you. So thank you actually for doing this follow-up as well, and for your audience here to watch what I had to say and maybe read about it. First, my name is Angel del Solar. I'm one of the co-founders and startups of 1821, the men's line. And that's why I was at the summit, just to represent the company. And when I started my career, and when I was 15 years old, I started in Spain. And I was a very easy goal for me. I wanted to actually be a fashion designer because my mother was that. And she's the one who convinced me to basically just do hair, because at the end of the day, you're done with the hair and you close the shop and go home. And the dresses you don't, you continue working at home. So she thought it would be a better path, and she wish she had done it herself. Lucky me, right place, right time. I got to work for a company called Luis Romero. Luis Romero is actually the president of Coiffure in Spain. So he's a really well-known hairdresser within the European community and all over the world. And at that time, he was working for Revlon at the time when I was there. He actually was the person who purchased the franchises for People Point in Spain. So that's where I started my career. Actually, I started my career as an educator for People Point. I taught the first year People Point course the first time that it was started in Spain, and the second year with the same group the next year, the year after. So that was my beginnings, learning precision cutting through the People Point ranks. And after that, actually became even an international educator for them, helped them up to open Argentina and train the people from Russia and Portugal as well, and everybody else. And actually after that, acquired the People Point franchises in Spain. So actually got to sell all the design forums and all that. So big background in education, that's what I love. Actually, I was a stylist as well for them, for Luis Romero salons. And then when I was 26 years old, after I got married with someone from Seattle, my wife, Mars Morel, and she was done with her school in Spain after we were married for 3 years, we decided to move to the United States. She was from the Seattle area. So we moved there, and lucky me, I got the connections to be able to get to work for Jim Juarez. So I came straight to work for Jim Juarez, which at the time I think was most likely the best salon on the country. And I work at the salon in Bellevue, which is popular for, that's where Microsoft is, that's where Amazon, and I was there at the boom of the .com, on the late 90s, started doing hair at that salon. Huge salon, was 25,000 square foot. I don't even know how many people work on that salon, but it was past 100 people working on that salon. And I got to be part of their artistic team. Worked there when they were transitioning from the precision cutting to the French method. So I got taught by people came over like Fekai and Pascal and Candy Shah. The people came over to our salon and helped us out to learn the French method, and then have a whole year with the other team people from the members of our team to train all 1,000 hairstylists in the Jim Juarez method to move into French. So lucky me, again, right time, right place. I got to learn some really cool things there. Then I decided to become a salon owner. So I got 3 salons in the state of Washington, one in Tacoma, one in Olympia, and one in Bellevue. I have about 75 employees, commission-based salons. At the beginning, very successful salons. Actually, we got asked by the state of Washington to do the first apprentice program pilot for the state of Washington. 2 of our salons got selected out of the 5 on the whole state, and they got selected to actually try to do this apprentice program to have a proof of concept there. And then when I was doing that, with my struggles with running the business and my wanting to learn more, I joined the PBA, the Professional Beauty Association, and went to a meeting in Florida and got to learn about the Summit salons with Michael Cole, and actually joined that. And actually my salon became the first Summit salon on the state of Washington. And did the program. They helped, they helped me out tremendously through the struggle. So learning how to do that, how to have a good systems, how to grow people, how to get people from beauty schools and train them to become salon owners and the ones who actually eventually bought on my own business from myself. And so I had that experience, and I love that experience. I was, on the artistic team and artistic director for companies like Purology, Enjoy, FHI Hit for many, many years. So I work on platform, did a lot of the cool stuff like doing hair for the Oscars, the Emmys, and all that jazz. And as I was doing that and I processed to that, it's like, I just want to do my own thing. I want to control my own destiny on education. So it's I'm going to become a distributor so I can do that. So I moved to Texas and I started a distribution channel with a partner, Astor Lanfon, and my brother, David Del Solar. And on the mix of doing that, a year into we lost a brand that we were building because it was bought out by somebody else. So we decided, well, we can't keep building these brands. We had to own our own brand. So we decided to start 1821, the men's brand, and it's done fantastically. I don't know if you guys ever seen it, but it's multiple salons all over the country. A lot of distributors. It's a salon-centric distributor. It's on Alta. You can buy it on the stores on Alta. It's been a fantastic success. So I always think, my career was all about learning so I could pass it on. I want to be having an opportunity to help other people on the mix of it. And because of that, I just found out myself doing, all this education and actually being able to control and live the destiny of my own education. So I'm very happy to be able to do this. And all that we're going to be discussing today is basically I brought it on all of those learnings that I done from other people, because you're always as good as you've been taught by other people. So.
Angel, you have I did not know all this background. I'm so happy that you filled us in, because I met you at the 1821 point, but everything that came before it, that's your credits obviously are so strong and impeachable. So I thank you for bringing us up to that. So you mentioned your strong education background, even being, that's very interesting, the state of Washington having you with the apprentice program. So you and I were talking about these education videos that you started putting out on YouTube.
Yes.
Por los pelos.
Yeah.
And they are Spanish language education, but you are taking kind of community sourced imagery from Japanese comics, from manga, from K-pop stars, from grunge artists like Kurt Cobain. You're taking these hairstyles, and you described it to me earlier as like proof of concept. These are looks that almost don't look replicatable, if that's a word. And you are saying, yes, you just need to sort of understand, how do I approach this? How do I make my way into this? So just tell us a little bit about how you started to put out these education videos.
Okay. So I did first started out with with a channel called it was called Angel del Solar, sharing the travel road. It has changed into what is called now Hairbender. And this is our English channel, and I have it a version in Spanish, which you were just mentioned, which is this one here. It's called Por los Pelos. So this came up out of the need of being able to do education when COVID happened. So about a year ago, I decided, well, I can go to places, I can help people out, and 1821 needs some good education, and we had to be able to support our distributors. We were going worldwide, we're in a lot of countries around the world, and how can I can't go anywhere to help these people. So I said, I gotta start, at least getting something going. Now it does take the process. If you know what you're trying to do, it takes a long time process. So first is to create a proof of concept, which is what we just mentioned. What can you do? What can you really help people with? Because, at the end of the day, can you make a difference in people's lives? And yes, you can, if you know what you're doing and if you had done it. And I was noticing that a lot of people online, there were a lot of this younger community going into online and putting a video on TikTok, on Facebook, or in YouTube, and just basically telling people how to be successful behind the chair when they haven't even done maybe enough hair to actually being able to pass on. I'm not saying that they were giving bad advice, because that's not the truth. They might be giving really good advice, but it's like everything else. You got to sort out to a lot of mediocrity to get there, the nugs, the real gold nuggets. So I thought, I had the experience. I know other people like me, but we're older, so we're maybe not so comfortable with the media. Why are not the ones kind of trying to pass on this information? So I decided to start doing that. So if you look at here on my Instagram, this is actually the English Instagram, which I started about 4 or 5 months ago. On the right side, you see the look that I'm trying to recreate. And on the left side, you see the recreated looks. And it goes, like you were mentioning, maybe it's on anime because they are very unique. So it's very sculptural. You had to have a certain level of skill or confidence to be able to achieve this. But these are looks that most people had thought that they were not possible to do. If you talk to professionals, they most likely think yes, but the consumer thinks those are not possible. And it could be, here you have a Neo from the last movie, or you have a K-pop artist, and and these are all looks that people are asking me to do. I ask the audience which one you got me to do next, and they just give me, maybe a few thousand people say I want this particular character, and they vote in it. And then I added two as well on real people, so they don't think it's just on a mannequin head. Obviously, a mannequin head is a tool that most professionals were all used to use. I use people point mannequin heads since I don't know when, because they are a good tool to actually practice these techniques like a canvas. But all of this can be reproduced. So it's a plethora of this. I got 40 or so of this now. And like you're talking about Kurt Cobain here. And why? Because they asked for it. They asked for this particular look because a lot of men were growing their hair and they wanted more like in the last couple of years, they want longer hair. Longer hair is more trending. If you look at on the right side of my channel here, these first 3 videos are long hair than the ones with more views, 1.4 million, 1 million, 1.1 million. And these are only like a few months in the channel, even a year. And this is because that's what people are looking at for trending. So again, the idea was to create a reproduction of hair. And I think this because it's important. If you got an industry where it's going, mostly all the clients come to see you with a picture on their phone and say, I want this look.
Yeah.
Can you actually do that? Or now imagine that you want to be more futuristic. We all seen people coming like, Amazon came out with a brand new salon experience in England where they actually have mirrors that they look at your face and they tell you your face type. And then they pair out with people with your face type, like celebrities with the haircut. Well, that's going to be really cool technology. The problem is going to be if the operator sees that picture and they cannot reproduce the look. So you cannot just get to that technology until the operator can actually create a job. So we've been talking a lot of people over the years, teaching people over collections. This is the haircut. I'm going to show you the techniques to actually check the hair. I think I'm more interested on proving people that it could be a concept when we can teach deconstruction, which is taking apart the pieces of how the haircut got produced, from looking at the perimeter, on the base, on the back, and then looking at the layers, where's the weight line, what kind of angles were created, was it as a graduation, it's an increment, it's all the information is out there, but how you package on a way that people can learn to do their own designs. I remember being a kid learning beauty school and my mind could do the hair, like my mind could see you and with your hair perfectly done, like a complete transformation on a way, on my vision, when you look fantastic, the best you could ever look. But my hands could not do it. So like my head had it, but my hands couldn't do it. And I feel like it's the same situation, not just on the reproduction, which is like, if somebody shows you a picture, can you do it? But if your mind can, think about it, can you do it? Or you're just going to be cutting the ends and reproducing the same bob or the same short fade, whatever, that you're comfortable doing. So I think that's the next step going forward for education on the video industries. Can we help people to be able to reproduce pictures or looks that people are already seeking and trying to get? And can we help them to reproduce their own imagination of what they want to do? Can do have the tools so they can really become creators? So this whole process. So obviously you can learn a lot on YouTube. My videos on YouTube is a proof of concept. Then you can see me cutting the hair in a repeated way and achieving all these different looks with a very simplistic way of cutting the perimeter and the layers. And it's on and on and on. The idea is to eventually come up with a course that people can actually have more like an organized learning, because that's the problem with YouTube. You can watch a video and say, oh, it's inspiring. It's the same thing we go into a show and see somebody cutting hair on the stage is inspiring. But are you really learning the steps and the insights to be able to achieve that on your own? And I think that's what a course is going to be important. I think that's what a course like online course, which is what I plan on doing, it will be a good thing because it will take people from here to be able to learn the steps in a simple way so they can produce themselves. If they're in El Salvador, or if they're in Peru, or if they are in Indonesia, I don't know what it is, then they can speak the languages that I'm trying to do. And I'm being very progressive. I mean, I already start up even my own channel in China. This is my channel in China, which obviously is not YouTube. You had to do Bilibili there. So I've been trying to even reach out to that kind of community. So I'm on a mission with all of this. I think I know what it takes. You know, I mean, I was a successful hairdresser. I was charging $100 a haircut 15 years ago. And I think anybody can do it. You just gotta be able to know the few things that are really relevant to be successful behind the chair. And the information is there. There's a lot of great professionals out there that they are doing amazing education. Obviously on the Spanish market is a little less. And I like to help them out and make sure that they get like everybody else too. So I don't know if that can answer your question.
It does, but let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, I love that you use the term organized learning, because I agree, you know, there has to be repetition, but if you are bouncing around through all different methods, sometimes you don't develop the consistency and the confidence to just approach whatever head of hair is in front of you. But also something you and I had started talking about was that you are, so thank you for mentioning hairbender, but that you are you can educate in English, you're educating in Spanish. And I asked you, do you think there is a need for more Spanish language education? And it sounds like you believe that, yes, we need to do a better job of educating in general to the professional in, you know, so that we are more inclusive as an industry.
Yeah, you know, and obviously everybody's talking about being inclusive. You know, you were on that meeting as well, too, and it was a big conversation about the African-American community, how included they've been on the mix of it all. And I just looking at the numbers, and, you know, in the United States, 20% of the population is Hispanics or Latin. And the Black African-American is only 15%. So it's a bigger community, the Spanish community, than the African-American community. And the problem with the Spanish community is that they have a different language. And that is an obstacle, because with the African-American, we can have the same language. We can have a show speaking on English and reach out everybody. We just need to shift a little bit the dynamic, or maybe we had to talk a little more about extremely curly hair and things that they can learn from professionals that they understand that hair. I think on the Hispanic is two things: is the language. It has to be provided in Spanish for most of these people to really dig in and get it how they want it. And obviously everybody say, well, everybody should be learning English, Spanish, you know, English when you're in the United States. And yes, and they're all trying and struggling to it maybe, but you know, it would be good if they could get that in Spanish as well. And I think the other thing is, you know, obviously the hair type. It's a different hair type. You know, I mean, the colorating Hispanic hair, it might be different than, you know, some Caucasian hair, because it's thicker, because it's darker, because, you know, so even the color process might be a different coaching. There might be, you know, the cutting, because of the density of hair, might be different. Maybe because some parts of Latin America, they have very straight hair, and some parts of Latin America have very curly hair. So the people with curly hair, they struggle about, what are my tools? What are my products? What are, you know, and there's the people with very straight hair, you know, what are my tools? What are my, you know, so it is kind of interesting dynamic, and you have to understand a lot about hair to be able to cater to that market, but you have to be able to do it in Spanish. And I think that's the biggest challenge, because when you do a show or when you create a magazine like you guys have, you do it mostly on English for the audience that it can speak English. But now you got to think about it, 20% of these people, and I'm not talking about just hairdressers, I'm talking about consumers, that they're Hispanic, and they could benefit from high content on Spanish language. I mean, I know we have in English, I mean, you got Sam B. I mean, the guy does amazing work on teaching everybody, mostly on English. It's other people who does a lot of great things on English, but in the Spanish, I don't see enough content. And, you know, maybe even in the shows too, you know, it's an area for the Hispanic. It's enough classes that they be done in Spanish, and it's being promoted and actually is happening.
Right. And well, and you are changing that. I mean, you're making an effort towards changing that, obviously. So, so we're going to see some more education, as you say. You're putting together sort of, you're conceptualizing.
Yep.
some sort of education program, some sort of course, will that will continue to be, will we find that on your YouTube channels? Will you, or is it still?
No,
still
courses
figuring out?
normally, yeah, courses mostly you gotta do it more like an organized matter, like, in some of those platforms, then they have courses, because
Oh,
it
okay.
has to be, see, the problem is like YouTube, you cannot organize the process, it's like learning math, you have to add first the numbers, then adding this multiplication, then it's an equation. You can show people an equation and see the end product, but you cannot take people through the journey. So it has to be more like in a platform when it's like a course, then you can actually go from lesson 1 to 2 to 3 and get evolving on the knowledge. That has to be complicated because what I teach is not very complicated, actually simplistic. And for me, it's about simplify. If it's not simple, it's not good enough, because we got to understand that new generations do not want complicated stuff. They want something that they can learn quick and something they can start using quickly. If you lose them. You cannot go and start talking about, these amazing, structures and complex, yeah, I can talk about it like that and I can do the graphics and all that, but that's not what they are looking for. It has to be able, and they don't have the time and they need the information. So, or they don't want to take the time. I don't know, whatever it is. It just has to be very simplified. It cannot have the driven ego that has had the past, when people in education, they just tried to prove that they knew more. They knew more because they were the ones who learned it, or because they were the ones who and they were just making it more difficult. And that's my experience. They make it more difficult so they could keep that position. And when I don't think it's that way. It's very simple to be successful behind the chair. It takes you only a few things, but you have to know what they are so you can actually do it.
All right, I love that. Very simple is good. And don't go away. I'm going to stop the recording, but I'm so grateful for your time.